I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak in today's debate because whilst the government can talk abstractly about levelling up the country and addressing the housing emergency, it's people in my constituency and constituencies across the country who are paying the price of years of failed policy and government inaction. This Queen's speech proposes the renter reform and social housing regulation bills. I see these as once-in-a-generation opportunities to build a new system in which everyone's rights to safe and secure housing is protected, respected and guaranteed in law. It is vital that this opportunity is not squandered, and I'll be holding the government's feet to the fire to ensure that it isn't, because I am so sorry to say their record to date has hardly been inspiring. We saw throughout the pandemic ministers' willingness to cast aside people in the rented sector. The COVID crisis only confirmed what we already knew, that rents are too high and too precarious, renters' rights are too precarious, and that too often rented accommodation is unsafe or in poor condition. Since I was elected in 2019, not a week has gone by in which I haven't heard a horror story after horror story from people in my Sheffield constituency about mould, damp, exposed asbestos, broken appliances, rats, vermin and many, many other issues. Tenants are afraid of speaking out in case they face eviction or can't re-sign their contract the following year. Renters who are being gradually priced out of areas by landlords that are unchecked, unchallenged and feel no consequence for their actions. One family that I've been working with can't put furniture against the walls as this causes cavities where black mould builds up. This isn't just in a handful of properties. According to the report by Shelter, across the city in Sheffield, 28% of private rentals contain Category 1 hazards, such as excess cold or risks of falls, and 4% of those are in social rented sector. To make matters worse, my constituents are often unfairly blamed for the hazards themselves. I constantly hear people being told that black mould in their properties is because of their own ventilation problem, that they need to open their windows more and bleach their walls. These are often families that I know have been sitting in the cold with their windows open all year round, running dehumidifiers at great cost constantly, and even a family who have been innovatively but sadly using sticky back plastic on their walls that they replace every 3 months to remove the mould. With the rising costs of energy, this is all the more concerning. The impacts of this are far-reaching. I've seen numerous cases of new or worsening asthma in children and adults, formally recorded by doctors as likely to be linked to living in mouldy or damp housing conditions. Other families have reported repeat infections. We are quite literally returning to the 1800s. And it's not only my constituents' physical health that is paying the price. Every single person I speak to with housing issues is experiencing some sort of poor mental health as a result. Living in conditions unfit for human habitation is devaluing. It makes people feel like they don't matter. The stress of having to constantly complain and chase up repairs is costing people, literally, because they're having to take multiple days off work to try and resolve these issues and protect their families. Our housing market is fundamentally broken. This isn't a new emergency, but the COVID-19 pandemic has made it even more acute, exposing and worsening cracks in the private rented sector and pushing more people into the long-term crisis of homelessness, debt and precarity. In Sheffield, we saw a rise of 46% in the number of private renters claiming housing benefit to help pay for their rent during February 2020 and 2021. And nearly 3,000 households were made homeless or threatened with homelessness in the same period. We know that the main issue of affordable housing, that there isn't enough being built. As Shelter's recent report makes clear, a key part of our solution must be to build more new, good quality social housing. Investing in social housing would deliver homes that local people can afford and thrive in, because genuinely affordable social rents allow people to save and build their lives. Between 1946 and 1980, an average of 126,000 council homes were built every year. As of 2019, just 6,826 were built. My city, once famed for the constructions of great public housing works, including the Streets in the Sky design of Park Hill and the radical Gleadless Valley estate, now faces a year-on-year decline in social housing stock, largely as a result of Thatcher's right to buy. Between March 2015 and April 2020, 1,812 social homes were sold in Sheffield through right to buy, and only 229 were built. But it's not just about the affordability of rents, it's also about the quality of the housing and the affordability of day-to-day bills. I'm pleased to say that Sheffield Labour Group has pledged to spend £350 million to improve the quality of council housing, to upgrade all homes to EPC Band C, retrofitting homes to make them warmer and greatly cutting energy bills and emissions. Our council now plans to build 3,100 new council homes to the highest energy efficiency standards. But unfortunately, it's nigh on impossible for local authorities to build enough to maintain the rates, let alone carry out the investment and maintenance that is so desperately needed to improve council stock. As Shelter's Levelling Up with Social Housing report states, in order to truly level up the city of Sheffield, we need to be provided with the funding to ensure Sheffield can build the good quality, genuinely affordable social homes it needs. But to date, the government's ambition on levelling up have stopped far short of the action. We need to see even more done to maintain our current stock of social housing, let alone provide genuinely affordable, warm homes that are new build. It's time ministers stepped up to the challenge. My constituents are tired of poor quality housing, they're tired of high rents and struggling from paycheck to pay their rent and bills. We need a housing revolution, and I'll be fighting for that to ensure that this is what these two bills provide.